When I was 7 years old, I made my first important invention. It was 2 tobacco cans with a hole punched in the bottom of them, a spindle fed through the hole, and handles fixed on opposite ends of the spindle. Now, don't ask me what the function of this invention was. It's too complicated to explain to an audience of non-7-year-olds. But that began my fascination with invention and stories of inventors. People like Thomas Edison, or Alexander Graham Bell, or Samuel Morse. But hidden in the romance of those stories was a secret message that all inventions come from America. So tonight I'm going to tell you some stories of Irish inventors who have contributed to the world. And taking it right back to the 3rd and 4th century AD, the Ogham stones were standing stones with horizontal scratches in them which indicated letters of the alphabet. And now we have more than 400 of these standing stones still remaining in Ireland that give us a record of the Irish language that was spoken. And that record is more than 1,000 years older than Gutenberg's first invention of the printing press. There was an Irish inventor called Stockwell, who he created beautiful musical instruments, including the first upright piano. If you want to predict earthquakes, you think about the science of seismology, which was invented by Robert Mallet, an Irish engineer, who did experiments with explosions on Sandymount Beach in Dublin. He also coined the term epicenter for earthquakes. Anybody who studied science in school is familiar with Robert Boyle and Boyle's law, which talks about the relationship between pressure and volume for a fixed mass of gas. And other significant additions to the world of science in the area, for example, of temperature. You have the regular temperature scales of Fahrenheit and Celsius, and then the Kelvin scale was brought by William Thomson, an Irishman. And when I visited Washington, D.C., and visited the patent office in Washington, D.C., there was a display case, and inside the display case, there was a patent, a single-page patent, which was issued to the Irish inventor, John Philip Holland, who invented the submarine. So there's lots of Irish inventions that have an impact on global life. If you go to the doctor and he takes out the stethoscope was invented by an Irishman. Another medical invention, and something that I hope that you never need, but if you do need it, you'll be happy that Professor Frank Pantridge developed the defibrillator, the portable defibrillator. And one of my favorite inventions that I love to talk about is one that was used by James Bond, and that's the ejector seat. So you can see we have a proud proud history of Irish inventions, going back to the prehistory, and some of the ones I haven't mentioned already. Chocolate milk. 400 years later, people are still drinking chocolate milk. You're looking at things like bone china, ship lifeboats. And now look at the 19th century, apart from the ones I mentioned. You have the Beaufort wind scale. You have the hollow needle hypodermic syringe. You have the discovery of the electron. And then coming into the early 20th century, things like the nickel-zinc battery. Again, my favorite, the ejector seat. Radiology, and then the radiotherapy, and then the splitting of the atom. So if you put this in historical context, from 1760 to 1830 was called the First Industrial Revolution. And then from 1730 to the start of the 20th century, we had the Second Industrial Revolution, which was also called the Technological Revolution. And you can see this was a golden age of Irish invention. And there's so many Irish inventions, and we could be here all night talking about it, but there's so many Irish inventions that I've even missed telling you about Joseph Spud Murphy, who he invented the first flavored potato chips. So salt and vinegar crisps, cheese and onion crisps, barbecue flavors, all of these flavors were invented by an Irishman that snack companies around the world wanted to license from him. A factory worker called Humphrey O'Sullivan, who was tired from standing hours in the factory, he invented comfortable rubber-soled shoes. And after that, he got many patents in that area and became a rich man from that. So in case you think that inventions are just for Americans or just for geniuses, this is for people like us and Irish people. We have all of these examples of Irish people. So who among you here thinks that you've got an idea that could be an invention? That's what I want you to think about. So when we think about this, do we have the potential for a new golden age of Irish invention? And I believe we do. We have the ingredients in place for this. The 3 ingredients that I see that we need. First of all, knowledge development. We've got this young, educated population who are curious and want to discover more. We have the economic incentives so that it will encourage people to invest more in inventive activities. And with global partnerships, where we can build on the relationships we have and we can take the ideas to the world. So when you combine this knowledge development, economic incentives, and global partnerships in a focused way, and we stand on the shoulders of all of these Irish inventors, we can increase our overall inventive productivity and generate a new generation with a new golden age of Irish invention. Thank you very much.